Hey everyone, I'm the Casual Prince, and welcome back to another video. It's been so long since I've recorded a normal video, I almost forgot how to do my intro. And that's bad, and I apologize for that. I hope you're all doing well. Before this video begins, I've got somewhat of a little message to give out. In a couple of days, I will be heading to university. And obviously that brings a lot of things in itself, so there won't be as many videos on this and the gaming channel, most likely. I want to say, I know I said that there were going to be a lot of videos this summer, and I'm perfectly aware that there hasn't been. I can only apologise because some things have come up this summer that I couldn't have anticipated. I'm sorry that I haven't made as many videos as I maybe could have done. All I can say is I'm sorry, but just rest assured that I've never given up on this channel. I said in the live stream that I was focusing a little bit more on the gaming channel just because I wanted to build both channels up, but I'm still an Arthur fan. I'm still the same Casual Prince you all know and love, fighting to bring back the franchise, and all I can say is I'm sorry, and yeah, I am sorry that I haven't made a lot of videos this summer, but there are more videos in the future, and today's video, let's get off of the sad stuff. Today's video is a fan favourite. Yeah. Spat everywhere. Today is actually a video that's part of a fan favourite series, my reviewing of The Revenge of Maltazard, the book. It's been a while since I read one of these chapters. It's been around a month. And this one really surprised me. I know our translator has been giving me cryptic hints in the comments about what's coming next. But I was not expecting this. So without further ado, let's get straight into this. So the last chapter we saw Max and Arthur get in the ladybug and fly off through Paradise Alley. And then we saw Armand and Rose crash into the goat. I was expecting the whole sequence with the unicorns, some mention of Krobe, Bedamish, the unicorn chase. Yeah, turns out none of that is in the books. Because let me explain to you what this chapter consists of. Basically, the chapter begins with Arthur and Max is still with him, having exited Paradise Alley. They're flying through the wilderness of the First Kingdom. And I was just like, whoa, so the whole thing with the unicorns and Bedamish, that doesn't happen? And seemingly it doesn't. And it's no, like, hardly any time at all is passed in the chapter, and they just fly into a sewer tunnel, and Arthur actually makes the point that it's the same sewer tunnel that he, Selenia, Bedamish, and Archibald drove down in the toy Ferrari, and him and Max have a funny little conversation about Arthur's ride, and he says that the Ferrari is 500 horses, in speed, and obviously Max doesn't really understand that term of measure. So it's just funny that, like, you know, he's treating it like it's a real car, because obviously a toy Ferrari doesn't have the power of 500 horses. I don't think it even has the power of 1. But anyway, so they're actually in the sewer tunnel. They're in the sewer tunnel that goes directly to the Minimoy village, and they get there. They actually get there in this chapter. So a whole section that must have been like 10, 15, 20 minutes of the movie is just not in the books. They just made that up. Now, I do have a bit of a sneaking suspicion. Well, I have a few sneaking suspicions, but I'll get onto that a little bit later. So they park literally outside the gate. They've reached the gate by this point, and I'm like, whoa, how... This was quick. They got there really, really quick. I also like to point out, this is the first review I'm doing with a face cam. I was just like, this chapter is so different, it deserves a face cam. Yeah, the face cam looks alright. I apologize if the sun is, like, on my face at some point. I'm having to rely on the light from outside. Luckily, it's quite a nice day. Yeah, so... They're literally at the Minimoy village gate, and then Max just sort of buggers off, and there's not really any sort of goodbye or anything. I suppose there wasn't really in the Revenge of Maltazard movie, but Max did do that thing where he just like, good luck, cuz, and that was, considering we didn't see him again, that was a nice little send-off for his character, I guess. But Max literally just buggers off, and there's not really any farewell whatsoever. And then Arthur goes, and he's actually, this is actually in reference to something I mentioned a couple of chapters ago, I think. It's amazing how similar some parts of Luke Bearson's original books are to my books, because in this sequence, Arthur is reflecting on the possibility that Selenia has moved on from him, or has lost interest or forgotten him. And you all know, or my long-term fans of like Arthur 5, you will know that that's exactly what Arthur's thinking in the first couple of chapters when he's in school. Specifically when he's in the math class with Mr. Yerson and Dylan. That, like, those thoughts are going through his head. So I just think that it's really interesting how I've subconsciously sort of gone the same direction that Bearson has in so many respects. It makes me happy, to be perfectly honest, because I guess that if I was subconsciously doing sort of the same stuff that Bearson was doing in the books, I guess it makes me a pretty good... It means that I've got a good understanding of sort of Arthur as a franchise and how to write it. And I do worry about that sometimes. Like, that whole thing at the beginning of Arthur 5 about Arthur sort of wondering about Selenia and if, like, you know, worrying about their relationship. That's something that's going to come up again a bit later. I haven't, like, abandoned that arc of their relationship in this book. But it's going to come up later. But I didn't know that Bearson was doing the same thing. So it makes me happy that we're sort of on the same wavelength. But anyway, so he knocks on the gate, and no one answers. Like, literally no one answers. Bear in mind, by this point, like, I've literally just read the chapter. Bear in mind, at this point, I was completely thrown for a loop, because obviously in the movie, there's been the whole thing with the spider. So, I was just thinking, it's not even... I was thinking about the Great Adventure, but in the Revenge of Maltazard, there's... You know, there's the Paradise Alley scene with Bedamish and Snow, who's seemingly not a character in this either, and the unicorns and Crobe, and, you know, Arthur frees Bedamish, and there's the whole chase scene with the unicorns, and then there's the scene with the spider, and we don't get that. So, a scene that, like, a sequence that in the movie takes about, must be a good, like, 10 hours in the movie, has only taken about, must be 20 minutes. So it's amazing that they made up that much. So he knocks on the door, and obviously Betta's not there to knock with him like he is in the movie, so I was completely like, what is going on? But no one answers, and he knocks again, and no one answers. And then he remembers, he's panicking, he's like, what if I've come too late? What if whatever is happening has already happened? he remembers the little hatch that the guards, like, slide on the door to look through, like the little look-see thing, the periscope as he calls it. And he finds it, and he brings it open, and he looks into the village, and it is completely and utterly dead. Like, there's no one anywhere. It's a complete ghost town. And he's really he gets really angry, and literally just punches the glass, and it flies off its hinges. And he literally squeezes through the gap, which must, given that imagine I'm a mini-moy, the gap must be about yay wide by yay high. I don't know how he manages to fit through there. But he manages to fit through, flops onto the floor, stands up, and there's no one there. There's no Mormals, there's no Mini-Moys, there's no one. And that's literally how the chapter ends, and I'm like, no, you can't do this to me. So, I don't know what the hell is going on. Usually, I have some indication of relevance thanks to the movie, but frankly, I don't know what the hell is going on at this stage in the game, because this is just completely... like I said, I usually know what's going on. I usually know, sort of... If I see a scene, and it's slightly different, I'm just like, oh yeah, probably this is about to happen. But this has completely thrown me for a loop, and I don't know what the hell is going on. Where have they gone? Why? Where are all the Minimoys? Now, if I had to make a prediction, I thought at first that, possibly they were hiding from him. And the reasoning behind that, just let me explain, is because maybe they were going to plan him a surprise party. And, well, I don't know, because, there are two things that disregards this, now that I think about it. I'd already thought of the first one. The one that I've just thought of is the fact that I was thinking, given that he didn't take, 12 hours to get to the Minimoys, like he did in the movies, I wouldn't be surprised if, they hadn't cleaned up the festival at all, and that they still had all the food out, and maybe they were all waiting. So it's only been probably about 10-20 minutes, maybe half an hour to an hour, absolute maximum, since the 10th moon, so it's probably about 12:30 at night, I'd say, by my estimations. So, I don't see them having cleaned up yet, but, surely they would know. The first thing is that I'm sure they would know that, if he hasn't made the 10th moon, he isn't coming, sort of thing. Okay, I was just looking at, a few of you remember, Christmas 2018, I did a Christmas countdown with me drawing a bunch of the characters, and I just realised I've drawn Selenia with, a weird dip in her back. It looks really weird. I have to look back on the image I drew her from, because I've never noticed that before. But anyway, I digress. So, the first thing is that, I was thinking that surely they know if he's missed the 10th moon, they don't think he's coming. The second thing, it makes the point that there's not even any Mulmals. So this isn't them just hiding, because, Mulmals, they're natural creatures. They're living, they're just animals. So they're gonna be flying around regardless of whatever's going on in the Minimoy village. But the fact that there's no Mulmals, no Minimoys, that gets me a bit suspicious. Now, we know that the overarching plot of the movie is that Maltazard sent a message to Arthur to get him to to disobey his father. I was looking for that word, disobey. Is the exact word Maltazard uses. So he sent the message to Arthur to make him disobey his parents and go back to the Minimoy village by whatever means necessary. So, I don't know if Maltazard is already here. We found out in the last chapter that the Sage, he doesn't have control over the Sage anymore. The Sage aren't really a thing, at least at this point. We all know in the movie of the War of Two Worlds, he has the army of Sage, and I still don't know why to this day he poured the potion into the lake and all of the Sage were in there. Maybe that's explained in the War of Two Worlds book, which I can't wait to read. But I don't know what's going on, frankly. Maybe Maltazard is already here, but we know that, like, he doesn't have an army at this point. He may do when he's big in the War of Two Worlds, but we know that at this point he doesn't, or at least he shouldn't, have an army. So maybe he's just shown up and maybe taking Selenia hostage. I have no idea what is going on. I still think that the planning a surprise thing is still a possibility, but there are a lot of things that would mean that doesn't make sense. So, frankly, I want to read the next chapter, and I want to read it now, but I guess I'll have to wait. But I can't wait to read the next chapter, and I have no clue what is going on. But with that out of the way, let's get to a couple of my favourite lines. One of them is just really funny. It says that Max is driving with one hand, and there's a line that says, "A cooler Messiah must be cool in every situation," and I just think that's a funny line. I just like it, to be perfectly honest. I just think it's funny. The rest, there's like 2 paragraphs and then one more line that I like, and they're all to do with Arthur talking about Selenia. And talking about the past, really. So, it's actually, the vehicle reaches the end of the pipe and stops in front of the renowned entrance gate to the land of the Minimoys. The boy remembers how he hit it with all of his strength when the underground corridor was being flooded with water. That was during his first expedition. On that day, he miraculously escaped the Evil M's clutches, and where he stands again in front of the same gate with a panging heart and clasped hands, moved the same way he was back then. He'll see Selenia in a moment, what a joy. And the next one reads as follows, which ties into him having second thoughts. The return, however, is sometimes a hard experience. One is limitlessly happy to see their loved one, but simultaneously a worry enters their heart. What if that someone isn't what they used to be? What if, because of the destructive effort of time, they change their mind and target of love? Out of sight, out of mind, as the saying goes. The very thought makes Arthur's blood run cold and his whole body shudder head to toe. And the final one, if Max says something about, he says wouldn't want to keep the girls alone for too long. And it says, if Max is afraid to leave his wife for an hour, which is actually an indication of how long it's been, I guess. I didn't really pick up on that the first time, so it's probably been around an hour. So, it's probably about 1 o'clock in the morning at this point. Which makes the whole thing about them planning a surprise for him even less likely, because I really don't think they'd be waiting that long. Unless they saw him use the vines. That could be a possibility. If Max is afraid to leave his wife for an hour, what has Arthur got to say after abandoning Selenia for 10 moons? And so, to talk about this, I really like it that, that he's having these thoughts, just because I believed him to be having these thoughts in Arthur 5. So I just like it that we're on the same wavelength, me and, Luke Besson. It's really interesting. There's one more thing that I wanted to mention as well. He says, I'm gonna read this out. Arthur doesn't know what the problem is yet, but he can already judge its scale. It's not a drama or a threat, but a national disaster. The whole population is gone. Were they kidnapped, thrown into jail, or wiped out? Everyone with no exception. What could have done that? And when it said, were they kidnapped, it immediately made me think of the entire plotline of Arthur 4. And again, I just like it that in random points in the book, me and Bearson are on the same wavelength. And it's so cool. But yeah. On to the suspicion I was talking about earlier. Given that there's an entire, like, 20-minute scene from the Revenge of Maltazard, it must be at least that much, 20 minutes to maybe even half an hour. I'd say around about 15-20 minutes. The scene from Paradise Alley to arriving at the Minimoy Gate by Spider, that is a massive scene that they seemingly just made up. So, you know, I'm confused as to why they did that, like, why the whole thing with Bedamish doesn't happen in the books. Like, I'm perfectly aware that the book obviously came before the movie, so the movie is based off the book, but that whole 20-minute scene seems like a really weird thing to just make up. So, what I was thinking is, like, the first Arthur and the Minimoys book is quite long. Because the first movie is 2 books, I originally thought that the first movie was going to be from the beginning, the first book, sorry, was going to be from the beginning to when he, like, after he defeated the Sage, and it would end with him, like, beginning to go on his journey. But it was way longer than that, and it went from the beginning of the first movie to when he was descending into Necropolis. And that's a lot of content in one book, which meant that Arthur and the Forbidden City was substantially shorter. What I'm thinking might be the case with these other 2 books is that the roles have switched, basically. I'm thinking that Revenge of Maltazard book is going to be shorter, and the War of Two Worlds is going to be sort of the same sort of length as the first book. Because I think there's a lot more to unpack, a lot more to describe. I think the War of Two Worlds is just on its own a bulkier story than Revenge of Maltazard. Even though they are, like, interconnected, they are, in a way, 2 stories that make up one sort of sequel, I guess. So, my thought process is that maybe Revenge of Maltazard is the counterpart, is, like, the Forbidden City short version to the War of Two Worlds long book. So maybe the Revenge of Maltazard is short, and then the War of Two Worlds book is going to be longer. I hope so, anyway. But either way, that was my review of Arthur and the Revenge of Maltazard, Chapter 12. I cannot wait to see the next chapter. I wanted to, I may as well say it in this video, translator, I know you're going to be watching this, because I know, this gives you inspiration to translate more. I've stated before, that thanks to a random DeviantArt post, I have been told that the truth behind Selenia's mother's death is in this book. Now, I also mentioned in my live stream last week that I wanted to make a full timeline video of the Arthur franchise. Now, I can't really do that unless I've got all of the information. Now, maybe I ought to wait until I've read both the Revenge of Maltazard and the War of Two Worlds books in full, because then I can fully go through all of the alternate universes, you know, the alternate universe of the book to the movie to the games, and compile it all, because I don't really want to make the timeline video and make it incomplete. Like, I can work on it, like, I said that I'd include, like, Arthur 5 and 4, so the timeline would start at 0 because of Mulder, but I could work on that, but obviously I can't finish it until I know all the details, and the last pieces of the puzzle to the Arthur franchise are in the last 2 books, and the art book, which I obviously have now. Speaking of the art book, I want to make a video in the next couple of days about some, like, I was literally just flipping through the art book, because I'm going to be taking the art book with me to university. I was flipping through the art book, and I found something really interesting that I want to share. So, originally, you guys will be aware that I've wanted to do a series called Secrets of the Art Book since I received the art book, and originally I was going to go through it systematically. Do you guys mind if I start in random places? Because, like, not everything in the art book is worth making a video of. I'll probably make videos for everything in the art book, but the thing that I found this morning, it seems like a really interesting detail, and it's a plot point that I think would have been really cool in the movies, but there's not really a place for it, if that makes sense. So I think it would have been really cool to see, and it's a really interesting thing. So, do you guys mind if I just randomly pick out things? Because I think the thing I found today would be a really good thing to start Secrets of the Art Book with. So, I'm probably going to do that. But yeah, as you were saying, like, I need all the pieces of the puzzle. I've spent years searching for everything to do with Arthur, and I believe the books are the last piece of the puzzle that I have yet to solve to get a full understanding of the Arthur franchise. Although there is something else that I've also been meaning to make a video on, that I sort of mentioned briefly in the I'm Back video. But that's for another time. So, in short, this is because, like, also something I want to mention is that, like, in books and movies, there's sort of a weird cliche of sequels that are based off of books always being different. Like, always being wildly different from the movie counterparts. Like, for example, Jurassic Park. There are only 2 Jurassic Park books, but there are obviously there are 5 films now, and there's going to be a 6th one. But, like, there are 2 Jurassic Park books. The first book and the first movie are relatively similar. There are some character differences and some plot differences, but it's basically the same story. The second Jurassic Park book, The Lost World, is entirely different to the movie. I have it, but I've not read it, because I'm still reading the first Jurassic Park book. But I've been told by a YouTuber, that the second Jurassic Park book is completely different to the movie. And also, the Divergent series. I mentioned that in my live stream as well. The second book, Insurgent, is completely and entirely different. Well, not entirely different in its entirety, but the ending is completely different to, completely different overall to, the movie and the book ending are different. That's what I'm saying. So, there's sort of a trend of books second books and movies of those second books always being different. And I'm wondering if this is true for the Revenge of Maltazard, because so far they've gone around about the same sort of storyline. Like, imagine this is the movie and this is the book, but the book is now randomly veered off in some crazy random direction that I have no idea where it's going. But I don't know, like, Besson could pull the whole surprise thing where they all jump out and they've been hiding, but, you know, I don't know. He's in the village now and there's no one there, so I don't really see that happening. But if it does, I will admit I'll probably be a little disappointed. But, you know, it's Besson, so I don't really think I could be. And maybe next chapter, we finally get to see the Arthur and Selenia reunion. Because Arthur and Selenia's reunion, like, is a highlight for me in everything. Because obviously, you know, I'm a massive shipper of those two. And, you know, in the movie of the Revenge of Maltazard, the reunion was one of the best scenes for me. I beyond loved writing their reunion scenes in Arthur 4 and 5. I can't wait to write it in Arthur Returns, although it'll be slightly different. That's a teaser for you guys. But yeah, so maybe that'll be next chapter, although these chapters are quite small. Like, I mentioned this in the live stream, that my chapters are a lot longer than Besson's. I write very long chapters, and to be honest, that's just to make up for the amount of time that I spend writing them. Just so you guys, like, this took me about 10 minutes to read, whereas the chapters I publish usually could probably take about an hour, and, you know, I want to make sure that the chapters I spend months writing don't take 10 minutes to read. So yeah, so maybe we'll see the Arthur and Selenia reunion next chapter. Also, going back to my original point, I keep digressing. Translator, if you're watching this, I would like to know how far away we are from learning about Selenia's mother. Like, maybe one or two chapters. Well, actually, don't tell me. No, actually, no, don't tell me, like, what chapter it's in. Just tell me whether we're close or not. That's all I want to know. Because if I know which chapter it's in, it won't be as much of a surprise. I'll probably record, me reading the chapters from now on. If the translator says we're close, I'll probably record me, reading the chapters, just in case, like, it's there and I find it. I want to be able to record my first reaction to show to you guys. So anyway, that was my review of the Revenge of Maltazard chapter 12. I really enjoyed this, and it's going off in a weird direction, and I genuinely can't wait to read more now. So, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I'm glad I'm reading the books like this, and I'm sort of mediating myself. Because otherwise I would just read them in, like, a week, and that's not good, because then it's just, like, over. It's just like, oh, I want more. So, yeah, thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I will see you on another video very, very soon. Goodbye, everyone.